You ready?
All right.
This is the awkward part that I'll probably cut in the very beginning because we're probably just standing here. Hey guys, what's up? This is Casey. This is Coach Tom. This is Shot Science Overtime number 142. And this is our live show. We've been off for a couple of weeks. A little rusty probably, but we want to remind you that this is kind of our longer show where we talk about topics and a topic that we think is going to help you guys become better players, take your skills to the next level, and then answer some of your questions that you might have about basketball, kind of from a coach's point of view. We're both coaches and former players and things like that, so hopefully we can give you guys some insight that maybe you're trying to figure out on your own and you don't really necessarily want to ask anybody else.
Yeah.
So we're going to do that. This is going to be a longer form show than our regular Shot Science tutorial videos. So if you're not into this, that's cool. But if you are, then please follow. And if you want to go tell your friends and family about it, that's awesome. Make sure you're following us on all of our Shot Science stuff, whether it's Facebook, Google+, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. We're Shot Science on all that stuff. So please follow us on there. And, we're doing different stuff on all those different places. So we'd like to see you there. And you can talk to us on all those places as well. But today we're going to have our topic that we talk about. And then while we're doing that, you guys are going to send us your questions in the chat. And as soon as we finish with our topic today, then we'll jump into you answering your questions. So send those our way. And our topic for today is guarding somebody more athletic than you.
Right.
We get a lot of questions about people that feel like they're inadequate or they're worried about going up against somebody else that might be better than them or, like we say, more athletic. And people can get into kind of just these funks or these self-defeating loops where they never feel like they can come out on top because they perceive this kind of deficiency when they go up against certain people.
Right.
So what do people do in that situation?
Well, just kind of looking at the situation first, this is really important to understand. When you are going to be playing someone, typically your coach will have a little scouting report for you, and even after a while, maybe several seasons, you kind of know this person and you know their capabilities, whether it's the fact that they're really athletic or fast or whatever. And then you want to prepare yourself mentally for it. One of the first things that we always look at in this regard is, number one, can this person go to their weak hand? And so that's really helps us. If we know that they're not very strong going to the weak hand, then what we want to do is get over and try to shade their strong hand a little more to kind of force them to go to the left, or let's say the left is their weak hand. And so
so one of the things like what you're talking about is you have to realize that everybody has a weakness.
Yeah.
Everybody has something that you can exploit, and you have to kind of uncover those little pieces of their armor that are missing. Really? And one of those ways is doing what you're doing.
Exactly. And so the thing that's important is to know who you're playing against. And, if you're playing against a person who is really athletic, but their weak hand is not very good, then you want to push them in that direction as much as possible. The other thing is that when you have an athletic person that you're playing against, try not to crowd them too much, because if you crowd them too much, they're able to use that athleticism and possibly their quickness to go by you. And so typically if we're guarding somebody, we want to be able to stick our hand out and be able to put our fingers on their chest. That's about how close we want to be to them. If we're any closer than that, they're going to go by us. Anybody's going to go by us. Even probably the weakest player you can think of probably will be able to go by us. We have this rule we always talk about with our players is that if the defense crowds you, you go, and you go right now. And so it goes like this. They crowd, I go. And where are you going? Well, you're going to the hoop. And so what we want to do is maybe back off of that more athletic person and give them a little bit more space. That space, maybe they're not really a very good shooter, but they're athletic and they can get to the basket. Then get off them a little bit, and that extra space now gives you more time to to cut them off when they do start to go by you. So that gives you a cushion from this other person who can use their athleticism to beat you.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is about playing smart.
Yes.
People think that athleticism is the great neutralizer, and in some ways it is, but you can outwit people.
Oh, yeah.
And you can exploit their deficiencies, but you can also kind of use their advantages against them as well.
Right.
Because if somebody is more athletic, they're probably going to be attacking the basket. They're probably going to be pushing the ball. They're probably going to be kind of putting a lot of investment in going to the basket and attacking.
Yeah.
And when that happens, you can use that against them. You can step in front, beat them to the spot, and take the charge.
Right.
A lot of times when I know that you would probably have more insight into this as like kind of a longer time coach, is that when you have a player like that is super athletic, that is attacking the basket all the time, you're going to put the smart defender on them, regardless of how athletically gifted that person is, because you know that they know how to handle a person like that. They know that if you step in front of somebody that is going to the basket with, exploding to the basket, that you can beat them to the spot, have them run into you, and you're using the advantage that they were taking advantage of against them.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. And one of the things that I kind of look at too is, some people are reluctant to put smaller players against bigger players. If we're out away from the basket and we have somebody who is, let's say they're a 6'2", 6'3" guard, and all I have is a 6-footer, and then I got a 5'10" guy. We happen to have one of those guys on our team this year, and we had that smaller guy pick him up in the backcourt because that smaller guy is quicker. Usually, and he has better feet, and not only that, he's got better hands, and so they're able to create problems for those athletic guys who probably aren't maybe the best ball handlers in the world. And so not only do we want to force them into their weak hand, we also want to make sure that we are creating problems for them just because we're beating them to the spot. Now they got to change directions again, and so we get a smaller player who can be very effective against bigger players. Let me finish this thought. And now, when we get in closer to the basket, now that becomes more of a problem because the other player now being bigger, maybe he can utilize his size and athleticism. And so then maybe we have to make a shift and put a bigger player on him. And oftentimes what we'll do is we won't necessarily put a bigger player on him, but we happen to have several different types of players on the team this year. We have one guy who was our point guard who was about 6 feet tall, but his range with his arms was just it was crazy. Probably a wingspan of probably about 6'6". He just long. And so if we're finding that this person's getting close to the basket and playing more within the 3-point line, then we put that guy on him, and he was able to kind of sustain himself just because he's longer. And,
I mean, look at people. The thumbnail that we put up for this video is Andre Iguodala guarding LeBron James. Andre Iguodala, he's not as big a body.
No.
He's probably not quite as athletic as LeBron, and he's not the superstar power that LeBron is. But when Andre Iguodala squares up with LeBron James has a hard time.
Yes, he does.
Because Andre Iguodala knows kind of the things to exploit. He's beating him to the spot. He's getting into his shorts with him. He's just smothering him, and LeBron doesn't like that.
No, he doesn't. And that's a thought that we should probably mention too. Is sometimes if you have players who are really pretty good and athletic, but don't know how to use that athleticism, that's when we would really crowd them. And make them pick up the ball. And a lot of guys will do that, is they'll bounce the ball, and if you're right there with them and in tight, they'll pick the ball up.
Yeah, and people that have that athleticism, and they seem to exploit it, and that's kind of their game. If you kind of make it more difficult, they start to fold up because they get frustrated really fast because they have no other options really. That athleticism is what they rely on. So if you get up on them and you take that away, or you make it more uncomfortable, then they really don't like that, and mentally that kind of shut them down.
Yeah.
And like I was going to say too is we have Andre Iguodala. Think about some of these great defenders that all of us would know. And probably from the NBA, just because all of us know it. Somebody like Kawhi Leonard, super smart when it comes to defense.
Yeah.
He has all these athletic, physical attributes that are great, but there's a reason why he is so good at defense. Think about somebody from the past, maybe like Bruce Bowen. That guy was not a huge body. He was not super athletic, but people hated playing against him.
Yes. He was so physical with them too. That's the other thing of physicality. Some players don't like that physicality, and you're able to control them just because you're more physical with them. And even with the idea that you might take a foul or two in defending with them, that they don't like to be pushed. They don't like to be have a hand check.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things. And oftentimes you can get away with a hand check as long as the back of your hand is on their hip. You can get away with that. And so by using these different kinds of things to play defense on these really athletic people, you can probably be moderately successful in playing them.
Yeah, I think that even you could be more than moderately successful. I think that a lot of it comes down to being smart and using the tools that maybe people don't regularly use on defense, like beating people to the spot, anticipation, staying on the ground instead of going for fakes and things like that. Getting up into people and making them feel uncomfortable, making them not even get the ball. If you deny the ball, sometimes you can just neutralize somebody just by doing that. And if they're not willing to do the extra mile to get open, then you've taken them out of the game completely.
Or, and this goes along with it, if you are pressuring them to receive passes, oftentimes they will extend further and further away from the basket or the three line. When they get out 10 feet beyond the three line, they're out of scoring position. They're not going to shoot from there. If they do, they're probably not going to be very effective, or they'll be sitting over on the sideline.
Yeah, and so if you have an approach to defense where you are using these tools, that can neutralize a ton of athleticism on the other side. And it's about being smart. It's about being efficient, and it's about intensity, physicality. You got to be willing to put your body on somebody, and also a huge part of it is the mental aspect of it.
Yeah.
When you go into a situation like that, you've got to just say, you just got to not care about whatever that person has on you, because in that moment you can do nothing to push your attributes past them in terms of athleticism. Right. Maybe in the off season you can go work on that stuff and try to get your athleticism up to maybe their level at that time. But in the moment, you have nothing that you can do. You can't make yourself taller. You can't make yourself faster. You can't make yourself quicker. But you can be smart, and you can go in there with the mentality that you're going to be in control. If you go into it thinking, oh man, I'm lesser than this person, then they're going to just take you to school. Yeah. So you can't go in there thinking that, oh, this person's more athletic than me. You got to go in there with that killer mindset that you're going to own that situation.
Yeah, there's another element that comes into play here that probably not very many people think about. A lot of young players who are not very experienced, will play off of their guy because they're afraid they're going to get beat. And that's something that drives me absolutely loony, because absolutely loony, because the thing is that when you're playing a team defense, what that means is it's 5-on-1. That means you've got 5 defenders who are defending that guy with a basketball. If he beats you, one of your teammates is there to support you and stop that penetration. And so you shouldn't be afraid of being beat by somebody who is pretty athletic, because you should have a teammate right there supporting you. And we spend a ton of times with our guys working on stopping penetration by closing the gaps when they try to go. We're right in front of them with a help defender. And, well, you might say, well, that opens up his defender. But what we do is we want to close that right away, and most guys will stop and they'll pick up the basketball, and now I can recover to my man. And we're still good. This past few seasons, that has been really effective for us, is the fact that every time somebody tries to beat one of our players, we've got somebody there to say, no, you ain't coming in here. And it's amazing. It's just like there's a wall around the paints, and they can't get into it. Now, truly, they do from time to time get into it, but it is a team defense.
Yeah, I mean,
All
here,
right, you want the mic back?
No, Nick was asking if we'd wave at him, so we said, so I waved.
Oh, okay.
But what I was going to say is that
Hi, Nick.
that is a little bit of, I mean, that is a very simplified version of what the defense approach might be.
Yes.
But it is true, because there are going to be priorities when it comes to defense, and the ball is always the number one priority, because
That's where the action is.
because if the ball goes through the basket, they get the points.
Yeah.
So you have to stop the ball first. But you can't forget about your guy that you're defending either. And when you think about it, your whole team is working as one organism.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
and your guys, yeah, absolutely. Your organism is focused on stopping the ball, but you can't forget about all the other people. So those are priority two. Yeah. So there's a way to approach defense where you are addressing the ball, but you're also hedging to make sure that those hedging and I'm sorry, I'm losing the word, but like relocating or
keeping
shifting
vision on ball man,
or shifting or trading places with somebody else. Those are all ways that the defense kind of reshapes itself to stop the ball. Because that's the number one priority.
Well, I love that word, reshaping the defense, because that's really what it is. Is every time that basketball moves from one spot on the floor to another, that defense does reshape, and it's always flexing and changing. That's a cool word. I love that.
Yeah, okay, so we're getting a little bit away or astray from the topic, but what we want to impart with you guys is that you need to approach playing against anybody, whether it's offense, defense, whatever, with the mentality that you are in control. You're not trying to, worry about things that you have no control over, like somebody else's athleticism or somebody else's height. That is all stuff that you have no way of manipulating or doing anything to yourself or them to make that situation better. Yeah. You have control over how you play in terms of your mentality, your approach. You have control over how smart you are about how you play, using the tools on defense that you might find in our videos or that we talk about during these shows, and also just your level of intensity and also effort
yeah.
and just being able to take a risk too, and knowing that you might take that risk, but your teammates are there to help you as well.
They're going to support you. That's right.
Okay. So do we feel good about that right there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So if you guys have more questions about how to guard somebody or play against somebody that's more athletic than you, then we'd be happy to talk about that more. Just let us know in the chat. We're going to chop off our topic for today on that and move into answering your guys' questions. So hopefully you guys have been sending us a bunch of questions here in the chat, which it looks like you have. Make sure that you are following us on all our social media stuff right now, whether that's Facebook, Google+, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, all that stuff. We are Shot Science and all of it, but we want to see all you guys show up there so we can talk to you during the week. But we're going to get into our questions. But first, I want to ask you guys a question, and that question is, tell us, or where are you from? Tell us what country you're from. If you're from a big city, maybe tell us that, because we're here in California, and we love to see like where everybody's from. So in the chat, tell us where everybody is from. Okay? All right, let's jump into answering some questions here. This one is from Alexa Vucic, who says, are contact layups a talent or a concentration thing? Both.
Yeah, well, it really is. And some people are averse to making that contact, and they kind of shy away. There are others who use it very physically on a layup. And I think that probably...
It's tactical.
What is it?
Tactical.
Yeah, it is tactical, and it does give you an advantage if you get a little bump and create some space for yourself to finish. I mean, that's really important to be able to do that. Working with a young man this morning, and we're trying to get him to bump the defender and then finish, and he would bump him and then step away from him for the finish. And so what have you gained?
Yeah.
You haven't gained anything. And so what you really want to do is get that little bump on them, and that neutralizes them, and then you go right from there. Oftentimes it's harder for them to get off the floor when you give them that little bump too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a bunch of little kind of particular elements of doing that are important, but I will say I will sum up in some very important kind of areas of it. Number one is you have to be willing to make contact.
Yes.
If you are not willing to make contact, or you're scared about your body hitting somebody else, or that's the only thing running through your mind, or you're telling yourself that you're going to fail because you're going to get hit or whatever, then you are going to fail.
Yeah.
But if you go into it knowing you're going to get contact and actually want it, because it actually is beneficial to you as the ball handler to get the contact, because mostly the benefit of the doubt goes to you. And typically if there is a foul called, it's going to be against them, and you also reap a greater benefit than they do.
Sure.
So you have to be willing to make contact. Number two is you have to practice getting contact and practice this stuff.
And giving it too.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that's what I mean is practice contact layups is basically what I'm saying. Because when you get out there in a game and it's the first time you've done anything, whether it's tying your shoes or whether it's shooting a foul shot or whether it's playing defense, if you've never done it before and you've never had those circumstances, trying to make it go right that time is going to be impossible.
Yeah.
So in your practice time, you have to set aside a small period every once in a while to work on that stuff, where maybe you go out into the yard, or you go to a playground, or you go to your gym or whatever, have your mom or dad come with you, your brother, your friend, whoever it is, and have them give you a little shove when you go up for a layup or give you a little body. And you'll start to get that feel, and it won't feel foreign to you anymore.
Right.
And you'll start to learn the little tactical tips that we talk about where, if you get a little body on somebody, but you focus on the finish, then you're going to be able to make it and get the foul.
Exactly.
And like you were saying, one of the biggest problems with people taking contact is that they take the contact or they create the contact and then they just fall away, and it's a looper or a circus shot, and you have completely negated that advantage that you have because that shot's probably not going to go in.
We call that a hope shot.
Yeah,
we hope it goes in and almost never does.
It's a low percentage shot.
Yeah.
Whereas you could get that contact, create the contact, and focus on the finish, not give up the ground, and you'll get the basket, and then you'll get the foul, and then you get the extra shot.
Right.
And that's the worst case scenario for a defender, is for you to get all those things. But if you are going to bail them out and you're going to do something where you fade away or whatever, then you've done exactly that. You've bailed them out. Okay, here's one from He Hi Be Hi Hi Hi, who says, "How to not get blocked at the rim." Well,
we were just kind of talking about a situation there where it keeps you from getting blocked at the rim, or at least giving you a possibility of a foul that's going to put you on the free throw line. But one of the things that you do not want to do when you are obviously that somebody's trying to block the shot is don't reorganize where you're going to take and shoot the ball from.
Don't compromise because of that.
No, because what's going to happen is you're not going to make that shot, and it's just going to turn into a good rebound for him to take to the other end quickly. Instead, I would take and spend more time just being really concerned about the fact that you're going to get up there and finish it and have them get a piece of you. You want them to make that contact, and you know what? More often than not, when there is that contact, unless you knock that person down you've got the ball and you knock the other person down, you're never going to have a call against you. It usually is going to go on the defender instead.
Yeah, here's what I'll say. When we talk about basketball, a lot of it is talking about creating the advantage. Mm-hmm. And you always want to be the one that is creating the advantage for yourself. And in a situation where you're getting blocked at the rim, it's probably something that there's probably a way for you to tip that in your advantage that maybe you're not using right now. And one of those ways is to get the defender into a position where they did not intend to be. And one of the ones that we teach all the time is giving a simple shot fake. Yeah. Even if it's on a transition layup, if you're faced with somebody that's meeting you at the rim, you can jump stop and you can give them a shot fake. They're going to jump in the air because they're going to try to attempt to block that shot. Once they're in the air, they're in trouble because if you're not also in the air, you can make an adjustment. They can't make any adjustments. And if they do, the adjustment is mostly things that are going to end up being a foul because it's going to be them swinging their arm or reaching or whatever it is or coming down on top of you. And at that point, you've beat them already. And so in that situation, you want to focus on the finish first. And then if contact can be created, do that. Jump into their arms, get the ball up, and you'll get the foul shot and the basket.
And quit worrying about getting blocked.
Yeah. Again, this comes back to being smart and using your
does.
intellect in this stuff. And you can do that by doing a shot fake. You can also give a shot fake and then a step through and maybe do a cross step and put the ball up on the other side of the basket.
But solid stuff is what pays off there.
Or going up and just using your body as the buffer between the ball and the defender. I mean, there's a toolbox that you can use, and we try to give you guys that. So one thing I would say is go check out our finishes at the rim video, where we give you, I think it's at least 9 different finishes on what you can do when you get to the rim.
Right.
And that's just that's 9, but there's more than that too. Sure. But those are like the big 9 that we think are important. Yeah. Okay, let's see here. Anthony Nunez says, should we pay attention to the ball or the player? And I think he's referring obviously to defense.
Defense, yeah. Well, if you get too much involved with the play, focusing on where the basketball is, then you kind of maybe lose where that defender's location is. The thing that we really like to teach is we want their eyes to be focused on their midsection, because they're not going any place that midsection is not going. And so they can put the ball out wide if they want to, but if we've got our focus right on that midsection, that has to go left in order for them to go left. Whereas they can stick that ball out there and they can cross it back or flat back it. And so the idea is just focus on their midsection. That's the key.
Yeah, here's the thing. If you're focusing on the ball, they can make the ball go places and make you think it's going to go someplace that it ultimately doesn't go. If you're focusing on their face, they can kind of key to things that they aren't necessarily going to do. Yeah. Like they may be looking that way and then pass the ball that way, or they may dribble that way. They could give you a look fake up to the rim, and if you're watching that, maybe you're going to jump and think it's a shot attempt.
Sure.
If you watch their feet, they might give you a jab step and make you think that they're going right, but then they cross step over the top, and you're playing catch up from then on. So like you're saying, it's good to have that soft focus on their midsection. Obviously, you want to have an input of everything.
Well, you want to know where that basketball is, but you catch that just in peripheral vision. Like Casey said, I think this is really a good way to put it, that you have that soft focus on the midsection of their body. And if somebody is certain in here where he's responding to that too, and he says you follow the chest. Well, the chest is okay.
That's part of the midsection essentially.
Yeah, and it's essentially the same thinking there, is that in order for them to go anyplace, that part of the body, chest or midsection, has to go. So stay with that.
Yeah, I mean, we're not saying that like focus on their belt buckle and then that's all you do and have tunnel vision on that. Yeah. You don't do that. You want to have a soft focus where you're taking an input of everything, but that midsection is where you look to cue where you are basically going to be. Because if you're focusing on other things, that can be a little bit of a problem. Hey, Caleb Anderson.
Hey, Caleb. We're shouting you out.
Let's look at where a few people are from. King Mar one is from Sweden. That's cool.
All right.
Let's see. Somebody was from Australia that I saw.
Balkan.
Somebody's from Macedonia. The Balkans. Carlos,
Iowa. All right.
Carlos Enriquez is from Guatemala. That's cool. Jonathan Williams is from South Carolina. Anthony Nunez from New York, Brooklyn. Barrington, Sydney, Australia.
Wow.
Cool. Utah, JD.
Mexico.
Victor is from Mexico. Cool. Scotland. Ewan Cromar. And Serbia. Cool. There's a bunch of other people too. So awesome, you guys. It's great to have you here.
Yeah, it really is.
We're sitting here in California talking hoops with people from everywhere. Okay. Let's see. Oh, somebody from Pakistan too. Okay, this one is from Nick Morales, who says, how important is it for off-season training if I play other sports?
Well, that's an interesting question to pose. It all depends on how important that sport is to you.
Priorities again.
Exactly, and like most of our high school guys who are playing for us are going to be playing spring sports or they play fall sports, and I think that's a great idea myself personally. Because the thing that's important is that when you go through school, you want to be well rounded. You want to have exposure to the different kinds of things, and certainly different sports is always really good for you.
You don't want those things. You need those things.
Well, you do need them, and they really kind of help you prepare for your life later on too, because of the relationships that you develop with different people, the skills that you develop that may carry over. Maybe you played tennis in high school, and then you kind of left it, and then midlife you say, oh, I'm thinking I'll try the tennis, and you get into tennis, and so by having those exposures, that helps kind of round and shape you. Now, certainly some people are more devoted to a sport, and sometimes they let other things go in favor of that. That's a personal choice. And I wouldn't say that I would recommend that. I think it's really good for you to have different things that you do. But if you are a basketball player and you want to get better, you have to spend time on it.
Yep.
And that time may take away from the other things that you do, but that's your personal choice. Whether it's good or bad, kind of depends on how you look at it.
Yeah, well, I would also say you have to take ownership of this as well. You can't look at two guys on the internet and ask them what is the best choice for my life.
Yeah, right.
We would love to be able to help you with hard questions like that. We can give you some opinions of our own, but ultimately it is your opinion on what to do with your life. And like you're saying, there's priorities in life, and obviously things like school and family and things like that are going to take precedent over pretty much everything else, because that they will take care of you for the rest of your life. Things like sports and hobbies and things like that, those are important too. They really are. And they can also influence the other parts of your life, where playing a sport like basketball, it's going to teach you how to work with a team, and how maybe down the road you're going to be in a work situation where that's going to really help, and maybe it'll put you in a leadership position. Maybe you'll start getting raises because of all the skills you develop playing basketball, or whatever it is. All of that stuff really plays into it. But when it comes down to it, if you want to get better at anything, whether it's playing guitar or playing basketball or mathematics, whatever it is, you have to devote time to it, and it has to be consistent and diligent time.
Yeah.
You can't just say, "Oh, I want to be a basketball player," show up in October, check out in February, and then think that the next October you're going to be that much better.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen.
Years and years ago when I was a kid, most everybody played 3 sports, seasonal sports in high school. And that's becoming less and less and less of a positive situation as people begin to specialize in different things, whether it's baseball or basketball or football or whatever.
I mean, I think it's fine to specialize in stuff, but it's good to have a balance of some other things as well.
Yes, absolutely.
It's great to be devoted to basketball, but maybe it's something where you want to have a little bit of an influence from another sport, because it might give you skills that help you in basketball, and maybe you'll find out something about yourself that will help in that. Yeah. But the thing is that people they want to know how to get better. They want to know what they need to be doing, and we can't give you the specifics on that other than you need to be consistent. You need to be very diligent. You need to be comprehensive, and you need to make sure that you are prioritizing, because that is the way that you get better. If you just throw it out there that you want to get better, it's not going to happen. You have to have a game plan.
Yeah.
Okay. This one is from Max Eckhart, who says, have you got some tips on scoring in transition against taller defenders? We kind of talked about that a little bit. Yeah. We have a ton of tips. One of them being, don't worry about how tall they are.
Yeah, truly.
One of them, there's so many things to say there. I would say go check out our video called "Finishes at the Rim."
Right.
and we address things that you can do to help you. But number one is be confident and don't worry about how much taller they are. You have no control over that. Let's see. Admiral Skulls ask, is it possible to defend against a taller person in the post?
Well, of course it is.
Of course. There's almost always going to be a height difference with anybody you square up against.
And one of the classics is going on right now with Draymond Green.
Oh yeah.
Draymond Green is 6'7", maybe.
Maybe. I've seen him in person. I've stood next to him. He's maybe 6'6".
Yeah.
Maybe.
He's thick. He's athletic. He has a lot of things going for him, and he defends the bigger NBA players fine. Occasionally he gets beat, but he holds his own.
He plays with heart. He plays in position. He plays smart. He's tenacious. I mean, those are things like Charles Barkley. He's the same situation where he's 6'4", 6'5", and he's going up against 7-footers, and it doesn't phase those guys. Like they love that.
Yeah.
And so it really is about those things that you have control of. You don't have control over your height.
Right.
You don't have control over that other person's height, but you do have control over how you play. And Draymond Green is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, he really is. And he's kind of recognized around the league as really the most well-rounded player that plays. And, every game you find him leading the break. You find him playing out at the top of the point. You find him defending at the post, all in the same portions of basketball games. And so how you really help yourself against those bigger guys is you can't afford to play behind them. If you play behind them on defense, you allow them to utilize their size. They catch the basketball, and now they turn on the basketball, and you're not long enough to do anything about it. So we really teach this, is that if we have a big post that is active and can score, we always front him. And that means that we're going to get around in front, and they can't throw the ball into him. And what they try to do is they'll try and lob it over the top. And what we do is we take our help side defenders, and they come over and give us help on the backside. And some people will say, yeah, but you give up your rebound. Hey, something you want to think about is this. If I am fronting my guy on the left block and the ball is on the same side of the floor, studies have shown that 65 to 75% of the rebounds go the opposite direction. In other words, it's going to go to the right side. And so I'm not concerned too much about us giving up rebound position when we're on that side, because we're going to keep him from catching the basketball, and you can. And we're not going to worry about rebound, because most of the rebounds will go to the opposite side of the floor, and we'll let our weak side, help side defenders take care of that side of the floor on rebounding. So that's kind of how we look at it.
Yeah. Let's see. This one is from let's see here. There was one where Franny Boio was asking a similar question about how to play against taller players in the post. So, I mean, it's the same response.
Yeah, it is.
Is exactly that.
It is. Don't let them catch the ball. They can't put it in the hole if they can't catch it.
And here's one from Fahim Khan, similar tangents, says, to drive on a bigger player is simply learn how to get fouls. I'm a senior and I've made a living last season on going to the free throw line.
Sure.
Exactly.
There it is.
I mean, that's a person that gets it.
Right.
Okay, here's one from Alex Ruiz, who is asking about lateral quickness drills, on-ball defense. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to lateral quickness, there's a lot of footwork drills that you can do.
Sure.
We have some on our channel where we talk about that in the Vertical Jump Handbook. Right. We also suggest you check out two of our kind of favored trainer guys, being Alan Stein and Drew Hanlon. Both of those guys have really great drills on that kind of stuff, and we're on the same page as they are. But check out our vertical jump stuff, because we have lateral kind of footwork training in that. Also, when it comes to defense and kind of the lateral quickness, a lot of it comes to getting down the technique of the step drag footwork.
Well, it does.
Because a lot of people, they want to do the kind of pick up their lead foot and step and then pull their, or whatever it is that they do with their defensive footwork. But what you need to learn how to do is the step drag, where you keep your feet
close to the floor. Yeah.
They don't come together where you're going up and down, and it's a quick step. And if you go look at our Defense 101 videos, we talk about that stuff.
Right.
And a lot of it is just doing it, forcing the explosion, and working on it on your own. I mean, that's if you want to develop these things, you have to do those things.
Yeah, you do. You do.
It's hard for us to articulate that without showing it to you, but if you go check out that stuff, I think you'll be in good shape. Let's see. This one is from King Mar 1, who says, I want to take more shots in the games because I believe I have a good scoring ability, but I worry too much about appearing selfish. I only take about 5 shots a game.
Here's the thing that you want to keep in mind is that usually coaches have offensive structure. That structure is how people are going to move to create shooting openings. And it could be that that's just not something that's going to work for you, maybe in your present situation, and give you only 5 shots. Okay, there may be other people who he wants to have more shots because maybe they are a better shooter. But just think about this: is that you don't want to force shots or create shots that are bad shots.
Yeah.
If you go to our video on what is a good shot, we kind of explain to you what we think about as a good shot. And I see some of the worst shooting habits when we play. Fortunately, we kind of have them under control in our group, but other groups, they put up shots that are they're ridiculous.
Well,
they're too long. They're being pressured. Other people have better looks. I mean, it's just not really a smart way to go.
Taking a shot just to take a shot is the worst approach to basketball ever.
Well, and to pump your score, your point production up, just because that's what you want.
Well,
hang on a second. That is an egotistical approach to the game of basketball. Basketball is a team game, and I saw this in a game Wednesday and Thursday. This young fellow, sophomore, great player, and he put about 26 on the other team. Then they came back, and that was a semi game. They came back in the final game, and he got 6 points. But you didn't see him whining and complaining about it, because that's the ebb and flow of basketball. Some nights you get 14 and somebody else gets 6. Maybe the next night they get 20 and you get 8. I mean,
that comes down to shot selection.
It is all about how the offense is put together, how things happen during the game, and don't be forcing something that you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, getting back to
rant.
King Mars' question here, let's break it into 2 parts because I think that's what it really is. Number one is that you want to take more shots in a game.
Doesn't everybody?
But that's good.
Yeah.
Number one, you want to have that mentality.
Yes.
But I would say that you should just have the scoring mentality where you are confident in taking the shot, but you have to be aware of what shot selection is and what taking a good shot is and what the best opportunity is at that moment for you and your team.
Exactly.
But it's good to want to take that shot. If you are worried about appearing selfish, I would say that there's 2 ways to take that. Are you forcing shots? That would be selfish.
Exactly.
Are you stepping outside of what your coach's directive is for the team? That would be selfish.
Exactly.
If you're taking a good shot and it's a good opportunity, and nobody could challenge you on that being a good shot, that is not selfish.
Yeah.
That is taking the opportunity, and as long as it's within the confines of the coach's directive and you're not forcing it, then that's a good shot. So I would
see the video.
What's a good shot?
What is a good shot?
Let's see. This one is a good one from Carlos Enriquez, who's asking any tip about movement without the ball to get easy buckets.
Absolutely.
We have tons of info on that.
Yeah. You know, one of the biggest problems that I see with young basketball, and young basketball, I'm talking about high school basketball and younger.
And inexperienced players.
And inexperienced players, they will, let's say you've got a point guard, he'll pass the ball out to the wing and then he'll stand there and wait for it to come back. What he doesn't realize is the person who is defending him is still defending the basketball even though somebody else has it. And he can address that by moving. If he takes a hard cut and goes to the opposite corner, his defender has to go with him. And so now you don't have two guys on that basketball. And the other thing that's really important is with movement is that you're able to create better passing lanes. You're able to create options for your teammates. Maybe you come up and give somebody a back screen. They can roll to the basket or cut to the basket. All those things are really important in helping people, your teammates, be able to score.
Yeah, I mean, here's the bottom line is that you do not deserve the ball just because you exist.
And just because you're on the floor, yeah.
Yeah, you have to make a case for why you deserve the basketball.
Yeah.
And one of the ways that you do that is by creating space and getting open. One of the funniest things ever is to watch somebody pass the ball away or just not have the ball yet and expect to get the ball and just stand there stomping their foot and clapping
their hands.
It's like, good job.
Boy.
Good job.
Yeah.
You have done nothing but just stand there.
Yeah.
But if you're doing things like creating space and disrupting the defense, then you are going to be much more deserving of getting the basketball, and you have to make that case. And so here are some things that we suggest you do, and there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
The main ones that you can do right away without the basketball are the L cut, the V cut, and the backdoor cut.
Right.
And we have all those in videos that you can check out on our in our YouTube library. Right. So I would say check those out. Other things you can do: screens, set on ball screens, off ball screens,
back screens.
Yep.
Down screens.
Flash in the post.
Flash in the post. Yeah.
That's, we have videos on that stuff. I mean, it's mostly just about doing something. Have something to do. And you will start to see that will create tons of easy buckets.
It really will.
Because you're making playing defense against you difficult. If you're just standing there, the defense is really just living it up because they don't have to do anything. But if you're moving, if you make a cut out to the perimeter, that guy has to respond. Mm-hmm. Because if he doesn't, you're just going to get open and you'll just take that open shot.
Right.
But if he's following you and you get him to bait and you sell that fake and then you cut back door, all of a sudden you're getting a layup.
Yep.
And he has to figure out what he can do to follow you and then also stop the basket.
Yeah, another thing that is really important on that too is that I lost my train of thought.
That's all right. Okay, we're moving on. We're doing this is lightning round because we need to get to way more questions and be a little bit more concise. Okay, so here's the lightning round, you guys. Let's see. Jason Daly says beating a pressure defender who hand checks you to prevent you blowing by them.
Okay.
I have a few thoughts on this.
Go ahead.
Well, I would say that there is no person that can stop you by hand checking you by going around them. If they are doing that, then they are holding on to you and it's a foul.
Yeah.
So you should just go by them. And if they're going to hang on to you, it's got to be called by the referee. There is something that you can do. And if you watch our video called The Hammer, then you'll see kind of a way to neutralize somebody hanging on you with that hand.
Yeah.
But even so, there's no way that somebody can stop you from going. I mean, it's impossible, right?
Yeah, and just the hand checks. Oftentimes you will see players fending off the other player's hand checks, and you should do that to keep them from controlling you. But the more movement you have, the better. When you have a pressure defender, one of the first things you want to think about is this, that I'm going to make that outward movement to get him to come out, and I'm going to make that hard back cut behind him. You beat him a couple times on that back cut, and pretty soon he has to be really honest. He can't get out and pressure that much more anymore. The other thing, if you go look at our L cuts and V cuts, you'll find out how you utilize your body to keep them from being able to get across you and pressure that pass. And so there's things that you can do that are really important. I think the V cut, L cut, back cut, all of those things are really important in defeating pressure defenders.
Okay, we're still getting a bunch of questions about people asking about how to guard or play against people that are taller, faster, more athletic. We spent at least 20 minutes talking about that.
Yeah.
The basic, underline of that is that you have to be smart. You have to use the defensive tools and offensive tools as well that help neutralize that. Because like we said, you have no control in the moment over somebody else's speed, quickness, and height.
Right.
You have to use those tips. So I would say go back and listen to what we talked about then.
Yeah.
Let's see. This one is from Chris Janis Mikulis, who says, "Hi, I'm a point guard, shooting guard. I can shoot, pass, and dribble quite good in the gym, but in games, the ball is slipping out of my hands. I shoot bricks and make silly mistakes. Solution."
Well, the thing that comes to my mind immediately is this, is that when you haven't prepared yourself for game speed in a game, then probably these are the kinds of mistakes that you're going to make.
Yep.
And the reason that we say that is this, is that when I go out and I practice at a moderate speed of execution.
Casual practice.
Casual practice is a good name for it. And then I step on the floor where the intensity level is jacked up 5 times, then I'm not prepared to play unless I have practice at that speed. And so one of the things that's really important, we're not going to go through our 3 pillars right now, but one of them is this, is that when you learn how to do something and practice it, then you take and go to game speed where you're doing exactly the same kinds of thing at game speed. That means you're really amping up and going.
And game intensity.
And game intensity. And then finally, it's time for you to take it to the court after that. What you're going to find is that when you practice at game speed, is that the game is going to slow down for you a little bit when you get into those pickup games or even team games, maybe a high school team or something like that.
And it's like you've already been there too.
You've been there, yeah.
And the thing about getting that game speed, game intensity work is that suddenly all of these things that you're doing in a game that aren't happening in practice, it's like you've been there before. You have the experience, and those things will stop happening.
Well, we start to get very clumsy when the speed increases.
Yeah.
Not only that, but hang on a second. But here is now a defender who is trying to stop you, and so now you have these other impediments that you haven't practiced, and so we're not surprised that you would run into that kind of situation where we're shooting bricks because you're probably hurrying shots.
Yeah.
And so the whole answer to your question is this: practice more at game speed.
Right. I mean, I was going to say the exact same thing, is that the variables are different when you add in defense and game intensity.
Right.
It's if you compare shooting a form shooting free throw to a guy getting in your face and you have to hit the shot from the same distance. There is so many more variables that happen, and your percentage is going to fall down. If you've never been in that situation before, then it's going to be real tough.
Well, there's another element that we should mention there too before we jump on to the next one. That is, when you practice at game speed, what you go through is you go through fatigue as well. And when you're playing in a game, that's a part of the game that affects how you perform, and that is fatigue. So you need to fatigue yourself as well with these game speed practices.
Right. I mean, we talk about the free throws all the time, and people generally go in and they shoot free throws to warm up and start their day, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But if you want to make free throws deep into the fourth quarter and you're tired and you're exhausted mentally and physically, and you step to the line and you've never been in that situation before, because you always shoot your free throws fresh, you're going to miss both of those free throws.
Yeah, probably. Good chance.
And if you are taking the time throughout your practice, all the way through, after your suicides, after you've been playing, scrimmaging, after whatever, at the very end, you're also shooting free throws, you will find that the percentage of your free throws will go way up throughout the game. And it won't be a huge fall off because you've only practiced it fresh. Okay. Anyways, we talk about that pretty much every single week. So if you want more on that, watch any other video. Yeah. Okay. This one is from Deadeye Gaming. It's kind of broad question, but let's do it. I used to make about 80% of my shots from beyond the arc in the summer. Now I just got 50. It keeps bricking and going in and out. Any tips? Well, go ahead.
Okay. When I see that you're making 80% of your shots from beyond the arc in the summer, okay, are those in games or is that in practice? I find that almost impossible to believe that you could make 80% of your shots in a game situation. unless you're
So,
playing.
okay, well,
Unless hang on, unless you're
assume,
playing against nobody.
let's assume that it's just practice.
Okay, all right, and then you drop down to 50. Hey, the thing that's really important for you to remember is this. When you're playing in a game, you probably, if you're a really, really, really good shooter on the high school level, let's say, or even the college level, you're going to shoot about 38 to 42% from the three line. And the reason it's going to drop way down there is because you're going through fatigue. You're going to have people in your face trying to block the shot. And these things affect how you play. They also, that's the reason that you find the bricking going on. You get tired.
Yeah, well,
and your shot changes when you get tired.
Here's what I would say too, is that we can't diagnose what's going wrong with your shot right now, because we have to look at you actually shooting. Yeah. What I would say is super important is to learn to become your own best coach. Sure. Because there might be some little tick or something like that is throwing you off. Yeah. Maybe there's a sticking point or something. So what my dad always says is that you should film yourself, and it's so easy these days with cell phones and everything. Most everybody has some way to tape themselves or ask somebody to do it, and you can look at what you're doing. And if you're able to diagnose, oh, okay, well, my follow through is off to one side, or it's coming out the wrong fingers, or whatever it is. You can even do slow-mo on some of these cameras. Yeah. And you can see that stuff. Know what causes problems in shooting, and you'll be able to fix it. Right. And we have our video called Fix Your Shot, and it goes through and it tells you kind of the common, the common reasons why you would miss shots and how to diagnose that. So I would say check some of that out. I would say that it's probably some little tick that you're working through that has got you off of your game, and it's something that you need to kind of address and then work up. Right. Okay, here's a couple of questions from Ms. Kish. They're asking about vertical jump and developing your jumping. Tyler Bishop is also asking that, I think. I would send you, we can't get into all those right now. I would send you guys to our vertical jump videos, because we do super in-depth talk on that. We talk about the muscles, we talk about how to develop them, and we give you a very effective, efficient, safe program that you can do. So I would say check out our vertical jump videos, and those will answer pretty much most of your questions. Dark Phoenix is saying, Petit bonjour de la France. How's it going? Glad that you're here. Let's see. Let's answer 2 more questions and we'll be out of here, okay?
Okay.
Do you see any you like? I'm going to probably ask this one.
Go ahead.
Braden Kuiper is asking, what are coaches looking for in a post player? Do you want me to do this one?
Go ahead.
I would say coaches are looking for a player that is well-developed and experienced with some post moves, and is able to play both offense and defense. I think that a lot of times post players, they don't have the best technique, and maybe they just have one move that they use. Right. I think one of the things that you need to learn, and go to our videos, check this out, is learn how to catch the ball on a release step, where you're creating space by stepping away and leaving the defender and catching the ball, and then have several moves going both ways, where you have the move and then you also have a counter to that move. So an example of that would be, you might have a jump hook to middle, also develop a up and under to the middle, because that's going to look like that jump hook. And if they're wise to what you're doing on the jump hook, then you can break out that up and under. It's going to look like the jump hook. They're going to play it like the jump hook, and then you step through and make the little cross step into the layup. Right. So I think coaches are looking for players that have the skills. They're looking for players that take initiative and show the effort. This is what coaches look for in all players. They look for all these qualities: leadership, effort, initiative, skills, and also
determination is a big part of it too. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we could go on and on about that. Let's answer one more question.
All right.
Do you see anything you like?
Yeah, I had one. Where'd it go? Okay. This is from Hans Meyer.
Hans Meyer.
How can I get better handles with the ball? Hey, that all comes about with practice. One of the things that I talk, consistent practice. One of the things that we talk about with most every player that we deal with is that within 2 weeks, you can significantly change the skill level that you have with your handles if you work on it just 20, 30 minutes a day. And knowing how to do it. One of the things that we find is that an awful lot of players really don't know how to dribble a basketball. They are very soft with it. They present it to the defense. And so one of the things that we talk about is, and you can find this in our dribble videos, is we want them to crush the basketball. We don't want the ball to be any higher than our thighs when we're dribbling it and lower when we're changing directions. And if you go to those videos and just kind of watch them, there's a whole bunch of different drills that we have there for you to use to develop your skills. And like I said, you can develop them pretty quickly if you just do it.
Yeah.
We don't always do the ball handling drills very much because they're not very much fun. But I spent half an hour or so before we came on the show today with a young guy who's really done some nice work with his ball skills. He's able to put the ball on the floor and go by people now that he couldn't before because he didn't have a left hand. And now he's able to do that. And it's just practice, and more practice.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that it comes down to how bad do you want it. If you want it, you're going to show dedication.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to be very consistent about it. If you look to the players that are great, they have a really defined, appropriate method of practice.
Yeah.
They don't just go in there and casually shoot, throw up hook shots from half court, joke around with their buddies. They're in there doing work, and they have the ball drills that they know they need to do. They go through and they do them, and they approach them diligently, and every moment of it counts. And that's what you have to do. You have to have the mental kind of ability to focus on that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Nothing just happens.
Yeah.
There's no Kobe Bryant didn't just walk into a gym one day and then suddenly be Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
He has spent tens of thousands of hours in the gym, and probably more than you could ever even imagine. Yeah. Today he's probably been in the gym for hours working on it, even though it's his last year and he's retiring. He's probably spent more time in the gym today than you have all week.
Yeah. And the final thought on all that is make sure you work with both hands.
The final thought is actually Hassan Abbasi is asking, who do you think will win the Western Conference? The Warriors.
Absolutely.
We're from the Bay Area.
No question.
All right. Thank you guys so much for being here. We're going to stop today, right? We're done. We really appreciate you guys being here and asking all your questions. Make sure you follow us on all of our social media sites because we're there every day doing different things on different places. Yeah. So follow us on Facebook, Google+, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. Wherever there's a platform, we're probably there. Just search for Shot Science on it and follow us. Come talk to us. Yeah. And we'll see you on the next live show Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific time.
Right. It's so much fun to have people from all over the world join us with their questions. That's really cool.
Yeah. All right, you guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
See you next time.